Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Neo Tokyo's official podcast, Interlinked. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Playa3ull Games. They are inspired by gamers and funded by their community. They have a epic game on the Epic Games Store, a third-person shooter called Nexus. Hop on in there and check that out. They're also currently selling nodes, so if you're interested, check that out at their website, playable.games. That is a 3 instead of a B on Playable. Now strap in for the rest of this episode of Interlink. I'm joined today by my co-host, Jared. Welcome back to the pod. How we doing, brother?
Man, so glad to be back. Sorry I missed so many episodes. I miss you guys.
It's okay. We've been having to hold back all the fans in the comment section. They assumed you got abducted for your regular legal practice and were being held hostage. I might have been fanning those flames a little bit, but no, he was on some good adventures with his son. So great reason to miss the pod, in my opinion. And for a guest today, we've got Corey Wright. Welcome to the pod. How are you doing, brother?
Best day of my life, man. How are you?
Dude, doing wonderful. Would love if you kick us off with a little introduction for yourself.
Yeah, of course. So I am a lifelong, I would call tinkerer, founder, entrepreneur. I've been launching businesses for the last 2 decades. I moved into Web3 in 2021 as like an actual builder, started getting involved in kind of crypto and Web3 in 2017, trading on Coinbase when it was just Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Moved into Binance, started trading shitcoins, round tripped everything. 2020, fell in love with NFTs, started minting a whole bunch on Solana. And then 2021 was presented with an opportunity to basically come and launch a studio that we could launch a Web3 game, and inspired very heavily by Axie Infinity and some of the other, kind of exciting things taking place and NFT mints and all this stuff. And so we architected Honeyland and came together, found a rad studio that had built some really, really cool Web2 games, and wanted to build the future of Web3 gaming. And the idea was take everything that Axie Infinity got right, double down on that, take everything that we bring from, almost 2 decades at that time of like entrepreneur and business launching and a bunch of online marketing. And we'd run SaaS and e-commerce and affiliate type stuff. So we had a really good knack for our founding team of, growth and user acquisition. And we figured that if we could build basically a Web3 game that had not everything that was great about, what people loved about Web3 games, but also built in more sustainability and fix some of the issues that led to some of the challenges that Axie experienced, and then bring in our Web2, or our user acquisition expertise, that we could build something really, really big. And we got a lot of that stuff right. We got some of that stuff wrong. We built Honeyland, and just last month, Honeyland was acquired or actually, I guess 2 months ago, was acquired by the Bravo Ready team. They're the team behind BR1 Infinite, Bonk Arena, Mini Arena. They're building an incredible Web3 gaming studio. And we wanted to take a slight pivot away from just pure Web3 games and into a little bit more like gamified Web3 applications that people use, and kind of taking things that people are already doing online, making it a little bit more fun, adding some degeneracy to it. And so that's kind of brought us to where we are today. I call it like version 2 of Hexagon Studios. So I still have the Honeyland sign behind me. It's still a huge part of my life and my identity, but that's with a new team now. And we're focused a little bit more on kind of building some really cool applications for degenerates and trying to make Web3 super fun.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you guys were groundbreaking in what you guys built with Honeyland, from, the integration of, the token right there into the game. I think you guys were the first ones to really do that. Now that's clearly been adapted in a bunch of the different games that are available now. So I think you guys definitely push this space forward, but would love to get a rundown for the audience on Last Mint. That's what we're here to talk about today. So excited to dive into it.
Yeah, so Last Mint is essentially an NFT casino. And there's 2 huge challenges I have to kind of figure out. Number one is destigmatize NFTs, because we're not back to the 2020, 2021, 2022, 10K PFP collections. That's not what we're trying to do here. Think of these much more as like real artists and real projects that launch collections that have utility. And then also think of just launching NFTs as memes. And if you think of kind of these 2 types of NFTs that are going to circulate far more than somebody trying to build a project or an IP from scratch, that's not really what Last Mint is about. It's about allowing people to mint NFTs that have some different utility. And so that's one thing that I have to think through. We're taking everything that you know about NFTs, the art or the utility or the kind of the on-chain ability to trade and all that. But then with Last Mint, there's this whole other side of things where every NFT has a guaranteed amount of liquidity that NFT has. And so when minting happens, Essentially, anybody can create a collection. You can do it in 30 seconds. It can be a single NFT. It can be multiple NFTs. You'll have a bunch of options, or you can just super simplify it if you want to just get something out the door quickly. But a lot of creator options to make launching an NFT collection stupid simple, and anybody can do it completely decentralized. You don't need a launch pad or a platform or permission. Launch an NFT collection as simply as you can launch a token on Pump.fun. And so I think that's part of it. And as people are minting the collection, all of the fees are held on chain in the collection pool. So they're not going to the creator, they're not going to last mint, they're held in a pool. When the collection ends, that pool gets distributed among every NFT that's been minted. And or I should say, every NFT has the option to claim a portion of that pool. So you'll have two options when the collection ends: either redeem your NFT back to last mint and pull out your portion of the pool, or hang on to the NFT and it's a normal NFT. You can go trade it, use it, sell it, buy it, burn it, whatever the heck you want with it. And so you have this additional utility. And so there's a couple gamified mechanics in here that make this kind of fun and make that pool kind of like, it's a little bit like a lottery in the sense that, or like if you guys have played DraftKings, in the sense that like you have more losers than winners, but you don't really lose all that much if you lose. And if you win, you can win a lot. And so the idea is you're going to lose more than you win, but there's never such thing as a total loss because every NFT has some value. And when you get those big ones, if you can kind of hit one of those bonus spots or a lucky mint, you can have a significantly higher claim. So that's why I call it an NFT casino. You are minting NFTs, but there's this fully gamified aspect to every single mint. And so there's this idea of like, if you're minting late, those are like bonus spots. There's a timer to every mint. So, and it can be as short as 1 minute, as long as like 24 hours. Anytime somebody mints, it resets the timer and the collection ends when the timer hits 0. So we don't know if there's going to be 3 mints or 300,000 mints. You don't know. The minters keep the collection going. We've got we're going to announce a new mechanic that will be coming out very soon called Joker Mints, where you'll actually, at some point, you'll have a 1% chance of pulling a Joker instead of a mint. That would end the collection immediately. So there's some like other cool, like really cool creator tools and stuff like that. But this is my second biggest challenge, is that it is really, really well designed and gamified, but it's fucking difficult to just understand, right? And so I remember Pump.fun, the first time I saw Pump.fun, everybody, maybe a lot more people today know what a bonding curve is, or at least think they know what a bonding curve is, than a year ago. I remember when I showed up to Pump.fun, and it was like, all the tokens are minted on a bonding curve. And like, I could in my head figure out what I think a bonding curve is, but I really truthfully had no idea what a bonding curve is. Pump.fun taught me what a bonding curve is, right? Like once that became popular enough, I had to learn what it was. And so I think that's kind of where we are, is that the mechanics are really, really solid, but they're novel. And novel mechanics means that you haven't seen them before. You kind of have to learn them. And so my two biggest challenges, the two things that I'm just trying to, project challenges, are: how do you tell people these aren't NFTs? They're not 10K PFP collections. Think of them as anywhere from memes, where they're just like way less fidelity than like a 10K PFP, or think of them as like real artists, projects, collections that want to build utility for NFTs. But it's not that middle ground where people are just trying to launch new IP to see if they can catch fire. And then the second thing is just kind of explaining the mechanics. But I think it's one of those things that you get in, you play around, you can kind of learn, and can kind of be an advantage. So, and then of course the big challenge is just getting the next 10,000 people to the platform.
Yeah, the second challenge I think is very interesting, like the ability to take new and novel mechanics and be able to translate them to a new audience. I know we ran into this on the black hole side just recently, where there were so many additional layers to the gamification, voting dynamics, yield dynamics, escape velocity, all of these new things that are, very different than how sort of standard DeFi is done. It does provide a big challenge to be like, okay, how do I get that information out there? Is it podcasts? Is it AMAs? Is it good sort of like documentation? And I think, at the end of the day, it's a combination of all of those, and then just having a juicy enough carrot at the end. Because I know from Pal World is the example I always think of. I had never run my own server, like to have a persistent server that me and my buddies could play on. But we were so addicted to the loop of Pal World in our own little universes and playing on each other's servers that we were like, okay, we got to get a persistent server out there so we can all play. So I jumped through the hoops of hopping on, I think it was like Shockbite or something, and going through the hoops of getting a server set up in Korea so that we could all play together. But I think it just shows that like if the mechanics are there and the carrot really is there at the end of the road, like gamers and DeFi participants will jump through the necessary hoops to learn.
Yeah, I kind of explain this like trying to light a damp match. Like you have a full matchbook of damp matches, and they're just more difficult to light, right? But if you strike enough times and you get the first one to light, you can use that one to light the rest of the matchbook on fire, right? And so like things happen really quickly at some point, and all these people who are like, it's too complicated, whether it's Black Hole or whether it was Pump Fun or whether it's Last Mint, at the point that that first match gets lit and they use that to light the matchbook, everybody will take the time to go figure it out because, and now they're late, And so I think that's kind of the thing here. But yeah, there's something to Black Hole where it's like, it is actually a better, more rewarding user experience if you use that to trade versus something like Uniswap. But Uniswap is just simple, show up, click, trade. And so you've got to kind of figure out like how do you like, even though it's actually healthier for everybody, it's more fun, it's gamified. How do you get them to use that versus something that that's comfortable and known? And that's one of the big challenges. And listen, I was around Web 2 when we were, like I said, 2 decades I've been launching businesses. I was there for the introduction of everything into Web 2. We're talking blogs, social media. Like I was at the forefront of this, building businesses around that. And I remember that, there's kind of when these spaces are so new and nascent, like you're just experimenting all over the place. And oftentimes those ones who are experimenting aren't the ones who are most rewarded, although they're the most impactful to the ecosystem. You talked about Honeyland, some of the things that we did 2.5 years ago. We were literally in app stores, approved as iOS and Google Play apps where you could buy and sell. You couldn't sell, sorry. You could buy our cryptocurrency as an in-app purchase with your Apple Pay or Google Pay in an App Store approved app. Like, guys, that is mind blowing. There's still most Web3 games don't have that ability today. We were doing that 2.5 years ago. At some point, that will be commonplace, but trying to explain to people why and how this works. And to do that, we had to build some really interesting on-chain, off-chain mechanics that were a little bit very novel. And I think groundbreaking, and I think our leading will ultimately be the playbook for how apps get approval and distribution in app stores moving forward with crypto fully integrated. But in that learning period, it's sometimes, you're taking a lot more punches than you need to along the way to do it. And I'm up for the challenge. I'm definitely down to do it. And I hope with Last Minute, this is something that's more fun, degenerate. It's less important to the world. I promise. Pump Fun is not important to the world. It's important to culture. I think Honeyland was more important to the world than what we're doing at Last Minute, but damn, this is fun.
And fun, as we were discussing, is what a lot of this is all about. Jared, I saw you unmuted, so I'll yield over to you.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the fact that you've been, an entrepreneur for, for a while and gone through, Web 2 to Web 3. And I wanted you to kind of touch on a little bit of the differences, especially really in marketing, I think is one of the sort of vast differences, certainly between the two, and kind of talk about your sort of pivot between what you do or what you did into what you do now and how those kind of target audiences are different in Web3.
Yeah, so I'll talk about two big differences that I've seen. One that is a big advantage for Web3 and one that's a huge disadvantage for Web3. So I think the first one is, I'll talk about the disadvantage first. It is a very extraction-based relationship between any project and their customer in Web3, right? It's basically, what can you do for me? That doesn't exist in Web 2. In Web 2, we're trying to figure out, like, we're buying products to get something in return, not saying, hey, I'll use your product if you pay me to do it. That's just fucking backwards, and it's really weird, and it's broken, and it's really unhealthy. And I think we're starting to see a shift of people. I mean, a year ago, there were a couple airdrops that came out that people thought, like Hamster Combat was one with Telegram, right? And people are like, we're going to make millions. And then the airdrop came and it was like 82 cents. And they're like, what the hell? And I'm kind of like, it was free money. You played a game and they paid you. Usually you pay money to play a game. So like, the mindset of Web3 is really challenging for a project where people want to know how much you're going to pay them to add value to their life. That's just weird. But what's great about Web3 is in Web 2, we think about the difference of like, ordering a grande to a venti Starbucks. That dollar difference, is it worth it, right? And in Web3, we'll come in and we'll spend $100,000 on a stupid JPEG. It's like, what the fuck? The concept of money disappears entirely in Web3. And it's kind of like this casino mentality. The reason they have you turn your cash into chips isn't because like it's, I don't know. Well, it's because of the mentality that when I put a black chip out on that hole, it's really easy for me to do. But if I had to put $100 out, I have a different level of value assigned to a $100 bill than I do to a black chip. So it's much easier to get me to spend a black chip than it is to spend $100 at a casino. We've done this with crypto. We don't think about it. When it's 2 SOL, that's $400 to go do something, but it's just 2 SOL and it's going to come back and the price goes up and down. And we lose a relationship to reality within Web3, which I think is really, healthy. So I think those are the two biggest challenges, Jared. What was the follow? Was there like an application or like how are we using this? Like what's these are kind of recommendations, but
yeah, especially like marketing and how, you're trying to get new, clients, if you want to call them that, or users to come in and what that difference is between, Web 2 and Web 3. And that fascinates me. And especially for somebody like you who's been out there doing both for so long.
Yeah, so I pushed against the Web3 marketing a lot. I wanted Honeyland very much to be about the game, not the profits, even though it was built on an economy. And then at some point I realized like, our token was at 30 cents at one point. It was at 35, but let's call it like 20 cents for a long period of time. I'm going to do the math really quickly. We emit about 320,000 tokens a day on Honeyland, times 20 cents. We were literally emitting $64,000 worth of rewards every single fucking day, right? Like that was, and I was like, I don't just want, because if I just tell people about that, then people come, they just pull out, sell. And it's incentivizing extractors. And at some point I was like, I'm an idiot if I'm not telling people that I'm giving away $64,000 a day just by playing a stupid game, right? And so I had to figure that out. But it was a mental shift that is not natural to me. Because to me, I want to build for sustainability. I want people to be there for the right reasons. I feel like I'm watching The Bachelor. Are you here for the right reasons? I hate that saying. I just want to find my person. I watched The Bachelor with my wife and Bachelor in Paradise. Sorry. Anyways, so like really finding like product market fit around a sustainable business model as opposed to an endless supply of rewards. That's what I was trying to find. I realized that if you really want to be good in this game, you kind of have to find product market fit through some sort of incentivized rewards. That's because that's what you're competing against. Everybody else is offering money, whether it's sustainable or not. And so my big challenge is, how do I build something that is truly rewarding to a player that I can use as a marketing hook to bring players in? Because we're not spending a lot of money on like traditional marketing. When I was in Web 2, I would spend 6 figures every single month on Facebook ads, right? And so like, I don't have to do that. I can turn those into player rewards now because I'm not playing a platform. Same thing. I'm trying to get people to use my product or buy my product, right? And so it's just a shift, but that can't be sustainable forever unless you have a real business model on the back end. I'll give you an example. Lastmin's a very degen tool. I've had everybody on my team, everybody that's close to me, everybody who knows me, ask if and when we're going to launch a token around Lastmin, because that's the thing you should do around a degenerate platform, right? For me, I know that once you launch a token, the product no longer is the product. The token is the product, which is, for better or worse, that's just the truth. Nobody cares about the new features, the awesome features we would launch in Honeyland if the token didn't go up. If the token went up, they didn't care if I took features away. Literally, that was it. The game was no longer the product, it was the token. And so I don't want to do that. I think Pump.fun's done a great job of building a product where the product was the product for the first year, and then they wanted to max extract and have kind of a final bang and pull a couple $1 billion out of the ecosystem. And so they decided to launch a token. But that wasn't strategic to their business model or growth or sustainability. It was strategic to their kind of cash out or whatever. I don't want to project anything. That's kind of, it's not a token I feel like a big part of. But so I've been very against launching a token for Pump.fun. But, recently we started toying with the idea of, what if we launched a soulbound token where we could say, hey, the first 5,000 people to come to the platform can mint a free soulbound token. And then with that, we can give you rewards based on activity within our platform. So we can give you better referral rewards if you're sending people to the platform. We can give you additional redemption rewards. So we can add 10% on top of whatever you're doing. We can give you whitelist to anything else that we do because we're building an ecosystem of these apps, right? It's not just a single app. So have a Genesis pass that gives you benefits on Lastmin, benefits on Junkyard, which is another product we're launching, benefits on whatever the next thing we launch, right? And so, but the only way that matters to you, you can't move it, sell it, extract it. There's nothing you can do unless you're actually using my platform. So I can take this reward that is a good reward. It's free. It costs nothing to get this reward. And that's my marketing budget to incentivize you to come to my platform, but it doesn't do it in a way where it's just allowing people to go max extract. So I think we just need to get smarter about these things. But the reality is this: I'm still competing with people who are giving you liquid benefits that you can go sell and buy a fucking coffee with tomorrow, right? And so like, I just think that Web3 users need to start getting healthier. We've asked for we want chicken and we act like we want to be healthy and eat lean proteins and veggies, but we're always just stuffing our faces with chocolate. We don't care if that platform's going to be around in 6 months or a year, as long as I can liquidate my token today and go do something with it. And so we're going back and back and back to chocolate. I think we've gotten really, really fat and unhealthy, and people are starting to realize that and go, oh, all those things. That's where I lost all my money, was when it looked good, but there's rugs and scams and let's just go to the projects that are actually doing this the right way. And I think that we're starting to see a lot more projects like that. And it's great to see things like Neo Tokyo that have not only been one of the very first and Honeyland that have been one of the very first players in the space, did this the right fucking way, and are still here long enough to say, great, as these things start to turn, now that credibility becomes almost a bigger stamp of approval than whatever flavor of the day reward is being offered by whatever projects are out there. And so yeah, that's kind of the marketing side of things, is trying to figure out how do you play the Web3 game of what people want, but also do something that what people really want, I think, long term, is they want Web3 to be a big part of their life moving forward. And that's going to be projects that are built around sustainability, real mechanics, revenue models that work for both the consumer and the business, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the extraction piece is such an important point. I think maybe the main job of a founder, if you are going to launch a token, is to figure out how to either tax the extractors or disincentivize the extractors. Like sometimes I think like if you set up like a game environment, like some sort of penalty that went to go and fuel good actors in the ecosystem could work. Like let's use like Honeyland for an example. If you were going to use like the or like whatever if you're going to use the token that was being emitted inside the ecosystem, there would be no penalty. And you're playing the game, you're a good player. But if you're just going to go and like take it and just dump it, I almost I used to balk so much at sell taxes, but now I think they might actually come back into vogue, where it's like, okay, if you're playing the game, great, maybe you get some sort of bonus, but we're going to fuel a lot of this bonus by taxing the extractors because
We've
they're
done
sort of
that.
the crux.
We did that from day one. And so we did it this way. We have a 30%, it's a 40% tax on withdrawal. So every token you earn inside Honeyland, every HXD, you can spend with 100% value inside the ecosystem. If you want to withdraw it and put it in your wallet on chain, great. It starts at a 40% tax. If you are a certified beekeeper, meaning you have a season pass or you can validate that you're a real person, a one of one behind the account, it immediately drops to 30. And then as you continue to participate in the economy, we have like this VIP score. And as your VIP level goes up, that tax goes all the way down. It can get as little as 10%. So if you're somebody who's participated legitimately in the economy for a long period of time, your VIP 10, you can earn and extract at 90% of the value, right? But that didn't come without participating and bringing value to the ecosystem first. And so, yeah, I think it was a really smart way. And I'll tell you what, going back to exactly, Jared, what I was just talking about with like, you're competing against people who are not doing these healthy, sustainable mechanics, right? And so like, I was really scared to launch that, but I was convicted that we had to do that and that we could not be sustainable without it. And so if we can't be sustainable without it, then why would I launch it? Why would I not, why would I do it with it if like it wouldn't be sustainable the other way? And so like, let's at least do the thing that I think gives us a chance at surviving, even if people, as long as it catches traction. And so that's what we did. And by the way, people didn't really balk at it. The game was good enough. It just became a part of what it was. And I think that, it's why we attracted the community that we attracted, which is people who care about the sustainability of the game as much as they care about just extracting.
Yeah, I was actually having a great AMA with Craft World yesterday, and it made me think a lot about Honeyland and you. It seems to be they've implemented maybe like the next step in an alternative branch of integrating sort of these Web3 features into the game. And what they did is they're built on the Ronin ecosystem, and they built swaps directly into the game. So it's one of those on-chain sort of resource generator games where you're making one core resource by investing in the infrastructure. And then, in this case, it's Earth. And then you can turn Earth into all of these different things. All of these resources are on chain. And so what I think they did that was really interesting was actually, instead of having everyone go to Katana, the biggest DEX on Ronin, to make all of these swaps, they built Katana into the game, which reminded me a lot about how Honeyland added that payment rail. In this instance, they actually haven't put on ramps like Honeyland, or I know Honeyland didn't have this, but off ramps, and they opted out of both of those, and they just said, okay, anybody can always take those tokens out and go and put them on swaps and swap to whatever they want, but in game you can utilize the DEX through the UX to be able to make these swaps. And I thought this could be a really interesting evolution in Web3 because you could imagine the DEX wins big. Well, let's start from all the players. The chain wins big because of all the additional volume, all these people turning resources into other resources. The DEX wins big because it gets all of this additional volume automatically funneled to their DEX as opposed to, having to fight it out with the top three DEXs on the chain. And then the game benefits because they don't have any sort of like immersion loss because you're not having to leave the game to be able to swap between these different resources. I think
Well,
you
and
could even take it over to the next level by taking a fee from that DEX and offering it as a kickback to the game, which could make things really sustainable. But I would just be curious what your thoughts are on that, Corey.
that's the whole thing. Like, this is why the Phantom Wallet is one of the biggest and best businesses in the world, is because they just provide you an interface to see your tokens, and then they take a small amount of money every time you want to swap them, right? And so, like, it's cheaper to swap on Jupiter for me than I do a lot of Solana. So cheaper to swap on Jupiter than it is in Phantom. If I'm swapping a small amount, the convenience of doing it in Phantom, right there. Why not, right? It's an extra 3 cents. Okay. But if I'm swapping a large amount, I go to Jupiter because it's, I don't want to pay those fees. But now you just transfer that into a game. And this is, I talked about this, sustainable revenue or business models, right? You don't always have to tax your players for different things or make them buy in-app purchases. You can take small amounts on those fees. What we did in Highland, it was brilliant in the sense that we had a ton of syncs. Like, we had the emissions. I talked about 320,000 tokens going out every day. We were taking back anywhere between 150 and 300,000 tokens a day, with an average of about 220,000 tokens a day coming back to us. That's about 70% of the emissions. That's wild for a Web3 game, but they were all coming back in HXD, which meant if we weren't willing to sell that into an exchange, then it actually meant not a lot. It was good for our balance sheet, but not good for our treasury, right? And so or good for like our cash flow, our operating capital. And so, I think that games that can find ways to build revenues that don't come in their own currency or their own token is going to be really, really important. And so if you could add a wallet and just say, cool, we're going to make a couple $100 a day through swaps, a couple $1,000 a day through swaps, that could literally solve everything. And people aren't even necessarily selling or buying your token. You've just got an interface. They're already in the game, gamify it, and start to make money that way. And so I think that's a huge thing for game sustainability. And as I get into kind of moving from Web 2 to Web 3, I remember the very first product I launched in Web 2. It was in 2016, and I had a SaaS product company that was doing really, really well, and I was almost bored. It made a ton of money and would pay me, and I launched it with my brother, and small staff, great team, awesome culture. It was just fucking fun. And I was like, hey, let's go tinker. I told you I'm a tinkerer. And I was like, let's launch an e-commerce store. I want to see what that's like. And, because SaaS was fun, but doing B2C, I felt like would be a kind of open up a new learning experience for me. And so we decided to sell Donald Trump bobbleheads. It's not a political endorsement or affiliation. It is just a product that we thought would be fun to sell. And so we started doing this, right? And there was another one on the market that was like 6.5 inches tall. And I was like, let's do 7 inches. We'll make it a little bit better. We'll, and we just knew how to market. And so we ended up selling over 100,000 of those Donald Trump bobbleheads. We built a business that was like insanely popular. It was really, really fun to do, and just see the energy and excitement around a growing business like that. But I made a lot of mistakes. I realized when that came in, that bobblehead at 7 inches was 17 ounces. Well, 1 pound is 16 ounces. And if you can ship anything in a pound or under, it's like $3 with tracking. If it goes over a pound, it starts at like $5.50 and it goes depending on where the zone is. And so literally $2 for every unit. We're talking 100,000 bobbleheads. $200,000 I lost because of that small fucking mistake, right? That I was like, I just didn't know. And so I think, and then you realize there's breakage, then you realize storing, then you realize all these little factors that go into like what makes a great e-commerce product. And now if I could sell, we started selling coins on that store. This is a Honeyland coin, but started selling coins on the store. And these are under a pound, insanely cheap, like small to store. There's no breakage. This doesn't break on the way. It is when I need a reorder of these, they can manufacture them and ship them maybe via air shipping within 2 weeks, have them manufactured and shipped. Bobbleheads take 90 days between the production, the painting, all the stuff, right? So you just go to all of this stuff. I don't need packaging for that really. Like, it was just such a better product, but I could have never known that without like basically getting beat up and losing $200,000 on bobbleheads because I made it a half an inch taller than it should have been, right? I've now been through that 3.5 years or 4 years now in November in Web3. I've learned all the things that Web3 projects and games need to succeed and all the things that you need to kind of stay away from, right? And I think that's what I'm able to bring to Last Mint. Revenue first models, incentives to the community. You talked about this, Nick. Like, how do you incentivize the community? We wanted to build just a really juicy referral program. So that said, listen, if I hate this, KOLs and influencers in the space where they charge you an upfront fee. I'm like, cool. They want to make a post that's going to generate $5 or something, or $500, right? And they'll make a post. And I go, how's this? I'll split 50-50 all of my revenues for the rest of your life from anybody who comes to my platform on from your tweet. We'll build you a referral code and we'll just go 50-50 rev share. And they go, no, I just want $500. I'm like, well, if it's going to be worth $500 to me, then you should take the second deal. But if you can't bring me $500 worth of revenues, then why would I do that? Let's go in this together. Now, I understand the risk on the other side, which is what if the platform sucks? What if it shuts down tomorrow? What if they did their duty and then they don't get paid on the back end? So I understand there's another side of that. I don't want to like only say one side, but if you believe in what we're doing enough to tweet about it, should you believe enough in it to let's just rev share instead of me paying you up front? And so we've tried to go with the juicy referral program and try and build in kind of aligned incentives as opposed to these things where you go pay $10,000 and hope and pray that it does something meaningful for your business.
Now a word from our sponsors.
What's up, crypto gamers? Shout out to our sponsor, Myria. Myria is revolutionizing Ethereum-based gaming with its powerful L2 scaling solution. Think zero gas fees, instant transactions, free NFT minting, and more. Myria offers a suite of tools that are tailor-built for game development, including game-specific SDKs, a spec'd-out marketplace, Web3 spiked leaderboards, new AI super tools, and more. All this fueled by a fleet of player-run nodes that are a breeze to operate and pump out daily rewards for supporting the ecosystem. Plus, check out Meta Rush, the Battle Royale obstacle runner by Myria Studios, dropping very, very soon.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Now, Corey, I'd love to dive into the actual platform itself. So I know we had teed you up so that you could screen share. Maybe walk us through exactly what we're building, because we didn't have this benefit on the AMA. So I think like as much as people can visualize, it's always better to see it.
Cool. Let me pull up the screen. Looks like you guys can see my screen now, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. All right. So this is Last Mint. I've talked about a lot of the mechanics. So first off, let's just talk. Anybody can launch a collection in like seconds. So this is how easy it would be. I'll find an image here, which is okay, let's just do this. Picture of me. Okay, let's say you wanted to mint a picture of me. We could load it in there. We'd have to name this Corey. We'd have to set an initial price that can be as little as like 0.01 SOL if we wanted to. We actually have, this is a new feature that is not even live yet. We're taking it live today, but we'll be able to launch collections in other currencies. So let's say we wanted to launch in HXD and we wanted to make it maybe 1,000 HXD to launch a collection. We could put a description if we want. We can adjust all of the like, how quickly does the price increase? What's the last minter? How big or small is their share? How many runner-ups are there? How much do they get? What's the reset time? You can adjust all that stuff, or you can just go, fuck it. Let's just make it chill. Let's make it YOLO. Let's make it spicy, tweak it a little bit. So we've made this like creator control, but also like stupid simple if you just want to get through something and launch it. Accept the terms and then launch a collection. If I click launch now, it would be live. I don't want to do that just because it's kind of a stupid collection. I don't think anybody would mint it, but now anybody can become a creator really, really quickly. And so all of these are collections that have been launched by people. You can see each one has a timer. So this one's 3 hours and 44 minutes, 7 hours and 38 minutes. And if we come in here and we decide that we want to mint this collection, a couple things are going to happen. So this is 0.01 SOL is what I'm paying to mint this. We're going to see this go up by a little bit, right? So 0.151 now. That's what I minted, because now this gets locked into that pool. It's not going to the creator. It's not going to the platform. We saw the timer reset back to 4 hours, and we have this leaderboard, right? And we can see right now, if the collection were to just hit 0, exactly what every NFT would be worth within this collection. So this one I would have a small gain. I paid 0.01. It's worth 0.015. If I'm happy with that, I can redeem it back to the platform. If I'd rather just take the NFT, we can do that as well. If we look at the details of this, this actually has 4 different NFTs that we can mint, each with different rarities. I think we got this one. We'll go back and look what we got, but this is clearly AI done. I'm okay with that. It's a meme, right? This is not like a real. This isn't meant to be a real NFT. Although sometimes I accidentally fall in love with some of these NFTs, and I'm like, I don't know, it's like $4 to redeem it. Maybe I'll just hang on to it. And so those revenues end up going to the creator. If I don't redeem my NFT, if I'd rather hold the NFT for its utility or its art or whatever, or I forget to redeem it within this 30-day window, then at the end of 30 days, all of the unclaimed fees go back to the creator as long as they're a verified creator. I'm going to tell everybody on this stream right now how to become a verified creator completely free. It costs 1 soul to everybody else. You guys can get the alpha. You can be a verified creator. There's other benefits as well, but we'll do that. So this one is 5% to the last minter, 6% to the runner-up, split across 5 runner-ups, and we can see the timer where it starts. You can see any description to the collection. So you can get all the collection details, figure out if it's one that you want to mint. Let's see which one we got. Oh, so we got this Nemo looking character here, which was, I think, if we look at this was a 37%. So it's one of the common ones. All right, when we come into my actual profile, we can see this is what we just minted. I'm currently the last minter, which is kind of nice. And we can see all the other NFTs I've minted. I've minted 212 NFTs. There's a ton of them in here. We can go to redeemable ones. So redeemable ones are going to be collections that have ended, right? If a collection hasn't ended, it's still active. The redemption value can be changing. As more and more people mint, the pool fills up, you drop out of bonus spots, different things like that. And so, and then you can see in here some of these, like I have a 2x multiplier on this. So this one is going to be worth 2 times more than another NFT in this same pool that would be, so you can see like this one's worth 0.017, but this one that had the 2x multiplier is going to be worth twice that, right? And so you can get lucky with every mint. What we like to say is be early, be late, or be lucky. So early, you can mint for the least amount of price. Everybody pays more after you, but your redemption units are going to be the same as somebody who minted the first one or the last one for that NFT. You can, if you're late, you can fall into one of those bonus spots where you can be one of these last minters or final minters that get a lot more than everybody else, right? And so it's heavily weighted to the back end if you're one of those final minters. So once you mint, you hope that clock runs out. If it runs out, you're going to get a good redemption. Even if you bump into a few final spots, you run into like these where you can see these green icons, those are runner-ups, and then everybody else is just a regular minter. But you can see that even just being lucky, this 404 here, 0.06 is actually worth more than somebody who was a runner-up, right? It's almost the same as that last minter. And so you can be early, be late, or be lucky. There's 3 ways to win. You're going to lose more often than you win. But even when you lose, this is a loser. It still gets $1.30 back, right? And so, and the minting, I don't know what the final mint was, but it's something that didn't start out that significant. I think it was 0.001. So you probably paid $1.70 to mint. You get $1.30 back, and you get to keep recycling those funds. That's one of the really cool things here is that when you come in here, I've got 0.812 SOL right now. I can just start going through and claiming all these that I don't want to. I actually like these. These are both from Bodhi. He's an artist I love. I'm going to actually hang on to those. These are from my daughter. My daughter launched this collection called ZZA Swirls. She's 8 years old. She's doing all this stuff on her iPad. She wanted to literally came to me and was like, Dad, a month ago. She's like, I want to launch an art store and sell my art, physical art. She's 8. This isn't, no offense, but I mean, this is cool stuff, but it's not like, I don't know what the demand is going to be to go launch a physical store. But I was like, cool, let's do it. We're going to get a domain. That'll cost us $15. We're going to need hosting. We're going to need a Shopify store. We're going to need a business. We're going to, we're going to need to pay taxes. And I go, or we can just launch this on Last Mint since they're already digital. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I showed her. She's like, hell yeah. So we live streamed launching. She's got 2 collections. She calls her art Zigzag Art. So ZZA. She's got these collections. You can see Zigzag Art. You can see the collection she's launched. And these were all of her art pieces. And I don't know, she had 40 people that minted. The pool got up to 2.2 SOL. And if you go to that collection, you can see kind of what each one of those was worth and stuff. But she's not by any means an artist, but she has her art online. There's people who own her NFTs. And I'll tell you what, she's going to make a little bit of money because I'm, it might be coming from Dad, but I'm not redeeming these. I fucking want these. Like, how cool is that to have my daughter's art from when she was 8 years old, when she's 18, right? And her descriptions of this collection. Oh, I don't think you can see it in here. Oh, it says, I'm Charlotte. This is my second art collection on Last Mint. My first one became the biggest collection on the platform with 169 mints. Thank you. I'm now back with ZZA Swirls, a wild collection of swirls, shapes, and zigzags. Each piece is a one-of-one digital art made by me. They're bold, fun, and totally unpredictable. One of a kind, not one of one. Just like me. If you missed my first collection, don't miss this one. When I'm famous, these will be priceless. You're welcome again. So she's having fun with it, right? Like, that's what this is about. Let's have some fun. Anybody's a creator. Anybody can come mint. And, there's some real ways. We just did a collab with DGen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that DGen device. It was this collection here. They have these, they're launching, it's a trading device, and super, super cool. And so they did this as a raffle. And the way that they launched this was basically you mint this as a raffle ticket. It costs like $10. It's a like a $600 device or a $700 device, but you could mint a $10 raffle ticket. And then rather than redeeming it on Last Mint, you just had to send it to this wallet. So you'd actually transfer it to them. They're going to end up redeeming it and taking that redemption value. but they're going to enter you into a raffle. And then they basically raffled off. We did it this morning. They threw in a surprise winner. They raffled off 2 different people, 2 $700 devices for $10 raffle tickets. Really, really cool. I think one of the people that won, had like 10 tickets, and the other person had like 7 tickets or something. So like $70 and $100 got you a big device. Again, more losers than winners, but there's still, a lot of fun here. And then you even had this pool got up to like 11, got up to like $2,300. And so 404 is not going to send the ticket for the raffle. They're going to go claim their $250, right? So there was this kind of dual thing going on. And this is what I'm so excited about, which is like, it's a creator's paradise. Like, I just want this to be a sandbox, and we're building so many cool things like the Joker mints. We have what we're calling gold mints, where you can like have, instead of like every NFT having some redemption, you can basically have like winners and losers. So you have either worth 0 or worth something, but there's a fixed amount of these ones that are worth something. Anyways, there's tons of like really cool things that we're doing. Again, Nick, it's going to go back to the black hole thing, where it's like, is this complexity actually adding value, or is it just making people's heads spin? I hope that, that we make it simple enough from a user interface and experience standpoint that, it's something that people can get really excited about. The last thing I'll say is we're going to have, and then I'll let you guys fire any questions if you want, but we have some sponsors for this, some partners that ecosystem partners, Solana, Metaplex, Tensor, all of them. We've got a couple others that we're locking in right now as well, some pretty big ones that have all given us a bunch of like their token to put in these as like just free mint pools. And so we are going to be launching, we've got all of those have more, at least 2 more collections going live. I think we've got 2 $5,000 Metaplex collections. We've got 2 $2,500 Tensor collections. We've got $2,000 Solana collections all going live. They're completely free to mint. You got to pay whatever the blockchain fees are, but there's no like mint fee that goes to us or in a pool. The sponsors are providing the entire pool. And so you can get lucky mints where you get like $10 if you mint one of the gold ones. I think there's like a 10% chance or something like that. It varies from mint to mint, but free mint, you can win $10. Or the last minters are going to get like up to, I think the Metaplex one is $1,000 to the last minter and $100 to 10 people who are the runner-ups. And then I think like 400 people win $10, through the gold mints and stuff like that, or 300 people. So again, just a cool way to like get people to the platform, get them using it. But if you're somebody who's like, listen, I don't want to spend a lot of money on this, but I'll come for the free shit, we're going to have a bunch of free shit. So we've already had some people missed out on them. Some people are like super pumped. We did this Metaplex gold one here. This is one that we launched recently. And this last minter won $1,000. There you go. $1,100. These people won $100 with free mints. Literally cost them the 60 cents or whatever it cost to mint an NFT. They're winning $1,000. We had 146 gold winners. They all won $20. So free mints, giving out a ton of free money. And it's just to get people here. The idea is not that, Jared, what I talked about, I don't just want to get people to the platform by paying them to be there, right? This is our initial marketing budget. Ultimately, we want you guys falling in love with the idea of minting and redeeming and mint, win, redeem, repeat, recycle those funds, have some fun with this, launch collections, get some big winners, flex them on social, bring friends to it. And I think that's kind of the what we're ultimately moving towards. But you're definitely early, with this platform, which is good and bad. It's good to be early to something, but it feels a little bit hollow. We're doing a lot with these partnerships that I think in the next 60 days, it's going to feel very, very different, but we're not doing it in a way where we're just trying to, build something that we can get 100,000 people to the site, pay a bunch of influencers, a bunch of wasted money, and then, 60 days from now, be wondering what we do next because we didn't really get real users to the platform. So we are building and growing the right way and building a little bit slowly, but we've got some cool things, some cool artists that are going to launch some rad collections on here that we've already lined up, like known artists, people that you would know. Like I said, some of those collections, we got some other big partners, some projects like DGen, others are coming to us to go mint real collections. So some cool stuff. We've got a lot of things that we're lining up, and it's really cool, Nick and Jared, for you guys to give us the opportunity to share with, the citizens and Neo Tokyo and, and the community around us. And I'm, a proud S2 citizen from Mint Day as well. We've got an S1 that sits in the Hexagon Treasury. And so, we've been supporters of Neo Tokyo and love seeing how Neo Tokyo has been very similar to what we've tried to do. Push the boundaries of what Web3 can unlock. Fuck around, experiment, make it a sandbox, do some cool things, have some winners, have some losers, but surround yourself with great people who love the idea of experimenting and trying to win together.
No, I absolutely love it. I've got a couple follow-up questions, but Jared, I'll kick it over to you first if you've got anything top of mind.
Yeah, just curious on the not safe for work functionality. What kind of rails do you guys have in place to kind of keep that, on the up and up so to speak. And if you could kind of speak about that feature, I found that something that not a lot of people are doing, but certainly I think there's a market, and it's very interesting when someone says, you know what, let's do it. Why not? We're all adults here.
Yeah, so our thing is this. I want this to be decentralized. I think that's a beauty of this. I also have ethics and morals that are, that sometimes get in the way of launching really cool things. And so this one is, I'm really ready to, and Jared, I may have to reach out to you at some point, but I'm ready to handle the moderation and content challenges as they come. I've always said I cannot wait to fast forward 6 months and see two things: how the real creators are expanding the boundaries of what we can do and requesting features that make this way beyond what we ever like thought this could be used for, and starting to see really cool, unique, novel use cases and building the technology behind it. I'm also really curious to see how the exploiters come in and make this place toxic. And I just know from Web3 that that will happen. And again, I'm taking 3.5 years of experience to build a lot of these guardrails in, but I also know that this is a much different space than Honeyland. Honeyland was a very controlled environment. This is going to be very uncontrolled. We launched recently a chat feature, a global chat feature. Let's see where that goes. We made a post where, like, within the first 24 hours, we have been called scammers and ruggers, and we've had porn in there, and we've had, we have what we call TTP, which is time to penis. Like, that's how you know that you've launched something, right? And so, like, TTP was reached within 24 hours, like all these things. And we're like, cool. Now what do we do? Somebody posted a GIF of somebody about to cut off his own dick and said, if you don't mint my collection, I'll cut off my dick. It wasn't a real one. It was a cartoon. But, like, do you leave that or do you remove that? I'm going to have to fight against my general judgment that I've come in, like everything I built before this, and I'm going to say, let it happen unless it is clearly hurting people, right? And so that's where we're at now. But yeah, Jared, as you might imagine, it's very much in the back of my mind. This is something that I'm going to be reactive to as opposed to proactive to, because trying to figure out how and where bad actors are going to act bad is somewhat challenging. You can look at other platforms and do some things. But so the NSFW, just to answer the question more specifically, we talk about this, that, like, if there's adult content, use this tag, but we don't allow hate, real world violence, explicit sexual acts. None of that's allowed regardless. Those collections will absolutely be removed. Funds will be returned. But we have a moderation as well. So any of these you can basically report in here if you feel like this should be an NSFW. So we have kind of a community moderation with some rules set in the back end to automatically trigger certain things. And so that's kind of, or elevate things to our awareness for content approval and things like that. So yeah, I'm not excited about the moderation, but I think I'm excited about the idea that the decentralized world says you don't have to moderate things. Like, show up to an adult site and use it the adult way that you want. Don't do illegal shit. And that's really what we're going to have to moderate. But I don't know. I'm up for the challenge. But also, yeah, I'm scared for it too.
Yeah, I mean, where my mind instantly went, obviously, like things like OnlyFans have like exploded to prominence and generated, I think, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. So, I mean, I could see an model doing
Why not?
a like sort of
Into the day.
raffle for pick of boobs, and like whatever, how many winners there are, then you get all the gamification on top of it. I think that is eventually going to happen, and we're going to see some sort of like Web3 OnlyFans hybrid. I'll bite my tongue on about 3 or 4 different pump dot jokes, but we'll leave that to the imagination of the audience. But to leave the NSFW, because I know we're coming close on time, I think one thing that's like a really interesting value proposition for this site is one of the biggest killers I've seen of projects is mints going poorly. So it didn't matter how good the game was, it didn't matter how good the utility was. If your mint and the like community views it to be extractive or doesn't go right, you will have a community turn on you so unbelievably fast. And let's be honest, most people who are a Web3 project creator are trying to create a game. They're trying to create a platform. They're not necessarily hyper focused on this mint having to be the product. So why not outsource to a product that specifically specializes in launching mints in a gamified fashion that's easy to use, and just take all that liability away from the project? And then worst comes to worst, if something goes wrong, you at least have someone to point to and be like, hey guys, we made a mistake. We used this site and they made a mistake. Sorry about that. We're going to redo this, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, it just seems like such a no-brainer if you're launching a game to use something like Glass Mint for your NFT mint.
Yeah, it becomes a big playground. And listen, right now you would have to bring the whole community. So technically it solves a challenge, but it doesn't bring this awareness, visibility, amplification that you ultimately want. That's where Magic Eden was so cool. But Magic Eden was gatekept. If you wanted to launch a collection on Magic Eden, you needed to reach out to them. You needed to pay them 10% or whatever you could negotiate with them, plus royalties. And you'd get some marketing from them. But it was a 30-day thing, like to launch. I've done it a couple times. And then it's a huge risk. And this just gives you, it shortcuts all of that and says, no, there's no gatekeeper to what can get launched on here. And if we can get 10, 50, 100,000 people on the site every day, then all of a sudden this becomes a discovery engine for artists, for projects, and you're going to start using it in very, very different ways. And again, that's where, these roles like verified creator that you can get right now without paying, like I said. Did I tell people how to get it? If you want to become a verified creator, we have on our website right here, go to the help section. And you've got all the details if you want to learn more about this. If anything didn't make sense, go here. When you click this link, I hope you guys still see my whole screen.
Yep.
You're going to get to just a form that tells you all the things you're going to get: 4 times referral rewards, customer referral badge, all the unclaimed pool payouts, that verified badge, all that stuff. When you get to this second thing, just put Interlinked here instead of we're asking for a transaction ID of your one soul. Just put Interlinked. I'll know that you came from Interlinked, and I'll give you guys do we know when this is going live, Nick?
Tuesday,
cool. So let's put a week on top of that. I don't want people coming in at some point I have to close this, but I don't want it to be. So let's say by September 5th, 6th ish. Let's say September 6th. Just get it done by then. Once you listen to this, and that will give you the ability to come in, become a verified creator. Listen, if you never launch a collection, you never mint a damn thing, but you filled out this form, at least you're verified if it ever does take off. There's no cost to doing that. This is the entire form, by the way. What is the wallet that you want to use? Put Interlinked here. What's your Telegram? That's optional. What do you want your referral code to be? So you can get a custom vanity referral code, and then tell me how you intend to use this and submit it. We'll take care of the rest. It's super simple to do that. But yeah, if you want to become a verified creator, we'd love that. And at some point, if my goal is, I want artists, and I've reached out to a lot, and artists really love this. Some are kind of taking a wait and see approach. They don't want to risk a big reputation to launch a collection on last minute, and then all of a sudden last minute, before it catches real traction. But the idea is that at some point, this should be the only place to launch collections. This is the decentralized launchpad that has both audience for for awareness and amplification, and also has all the tooling that you would need for a creator to launch. And right now, your creator options are somewhat limited. If we can just load this picture back in, just so I can get through the next step. They're somewhat limited in the sense that you can go between 0.1% and 1%. You couldn't put a 0% price increase. You couldn't put a 10% price increase. The last minter share, you cannot drop that to 0. There has to be a last minter share to some extent. Same with runners up and runner up share. But eventually, if you want to just launch a collection, there's no ability to put a fixed supply on this right now. But we could do fixed supply mints. And so we're building all the creator tooling. I don't want to lose what makes last mint special, which is that it's fun, it's gamified. It's not necessarily just for minting NFTs that you want for the actual, what we've known NFTs to be for the last 5 years. I want you to be able to mint an NFT as a scratcher. And if you didn't win as big as you wanted to win, then you go, would I rather have a little bit back, or would I rather have this NFT for whatever it provides, right? And so you have at least options at the end of the mint. And so we're just trying to build something really, really fun. And that's kind of the whole kind of where we're at, and looking for all the support we can get. And yeah, so that's it.
No, I love it, Corey. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up that you want to share with the audience?
Man, I just love you guys. I appreciate everything that you're doing. Nick, Jared, it's great to meet you. Obviously, I've kind of followed and known for a while about you and stuff, but first time we're actually connecting. And so I just want to thank you. We're I think doing this together in Web3. We're trying to build rad shit. We're trying to make sure that real people know about it. And I appreciate this. I appreciate any opportunity to have a little microphone to kind of share what's passionate to me and what I'm building. And anybody who has questions, feedback, ideas. Looks like my dog has questions or feedback. I don't know if you guys heard that, but questions, feedback, ideas, reach out to me. I'm really, I'm not trying to be like the front face of this project the same way I was to Honeyland, because I want it to be more decentralized, but I'm still very much the doxed founder behind Last Mint with my studio. Hexagon Studio is very much behind this. And so I am a real person behind the project that I want all the feedback and everything that I can get to, but I'm not going to be as public to that, because I don't think it needs a community lead as much as it just needs to decentralize, needs the right the technology needs to speak for itself. So, but yeah, I'm very much happy to chat with anybody, creators, artists, degens, have an idea, want to launch a collection, let's do it. And I just appreciate you giving me the opportunity for this, and love getting to see you guys and hang out.
Absolutely. Always love these conversations, Corey. Always appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate all that you're building and pushing the space forward. Jared, absolutely amazing to have you back on the pod for a co-hosting session. Glad you've been on some good adventures lately, but always appreciate you tuning into the pod with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Corey. It was great. I'm really excited for the project.
Thanks, Jared. And yeah, I may reach out as soon as I get that weird one that I'm not sure if it crossed the line or not, and what the hell I need to do. So
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
happy to help. No problem.
And
Cool. Thanks, guys.
we'll drop that link for the creator form down in our description. So Corey sent that to us afterwards. And definitely go and hit that and drop interlinked where it asks for that one soul. And that way you can get on through the creator platform. And feel free to reach out in Neo Tokyo. As Corey said, he's in there as well. So that's a great place to get in contact with him, or your Twitter, which will also be in the description. And besides that, thank you to the audience for joining us today. This has been Neo Tokyo's official podcast, Interlinked. And we'll be back with an episode next week. Thanks, everyone.